Have you ever noticed that when you try to pull the old switcheroo, you may end up getting more than what you bargained for? Well, that's what Lynn and Lincoln found out in the episode I'm going to talk about today. So join me as I, SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, bring you another retro review from past seasons of the Loud House. Cue the intro! Today's episode is The Loudest Yard. In this episode, Lincoln's mom signs him up for football so he can get more exercise, but he gets Lynn to cover for him after he makes the team. This episode is sort of a mixed bag in my opinion. For starters, Lincoln is not only established as the kind of stereotypical lazy kid who has zero interest in doing anything that involves physical fitness, but he's pretty much terrible at all sports despite the fact he was allowed to stay on the football team. By the way, I'm not even critical of his mom signing him up for football, since doing so would actually be a benefit to him, and you can look up why parents encourage their kids to take up sports. But anyway, after he fails to get out of football by getting injured courtesy of Lola, Lynn puts him through an intense and subsequently useless training montage so he can at least try to be prepared for the game, and this montage is undoubtedly the best part of the episode. My favorite moment was the Peanuts reference where Lucy Loud paid homage to Lucy Van Pelt by pulling the football away as Lincoln was about to kick it. Lucy pulling a Lucy. Now that's clever. But getting back to Lynn for a second, some say this was one of her more tolerable episodes of the series, and I do agree to an extent. She tries standing up to some bullies from the opposing football team when they're chastising her brother, and she does agree to cover for Lincoln by secretly taking his place in football, but at the same time, she also wasn't doing this for the sole reason of sparing Lincoln from getting hurt. She was originally dismissive of the idea of taking his spot, and only agreed to do so because, at the time when this episode was made, there was no girls' football league in Royal Woods. So when you think about it, she was mostly doing this for herself, and Lincoln not wanting to play football whatsoever just happened to be a convenient way for her to show off her impressive skills out on the field, even though it was Lincoln who was getting all the credit for Lynn's work. But yeah, all of this led to the final game of the season, and the kids did that thing where they kept running back and forth to change out of Lincoln's uniform, only to have the charade end when Lynn got injured and had her helmet removed. I don't know how major or minor this next positive might be, but I really appreciated how the football coach, and pretty much everyone else, didn't get mad about what Lincoln and Lynn had done. The coach actually wanted Lynn to join his team next season because of how incredibly talented she was, and years later following this episode, we got Friday Night Fights where Lynn is finally competing in a girls' football league. I guess you could say Lynn came off as a trailblazer in this episode, so that was good. I suppose the only other thing worth mentioning is how Lincoln got his comeuppance when he ended up scoring the winning point for the other team and then getting chased down by his team as a result. He went from being on top of the world to face first on the ground, and all it takes for the mighty to fall is one big lie and the ever-inconvenient Charlie horse. Overall, this episode has its share of good and bad, and it breaks even for a final product that comes off as simply okay. Lincoln wanted to get out of doing something he got roped into without really giving it a fair chance, and ultimately paid the price when his plan came undone and subsequently suffered the consequences at the end. Lynn technically had good intentions with her role, and she wasn't exactly presented horribly, but you come to realize she was mostly doing what she did for her own satisfaction and not so much for her brother. Along with the Peanuts reference and the heavy innuendo with Lincoln loving what he sees as he watches his mom exercise, this episode can be hit or miss. As for me, it's a hit, but not out of the park. With that said, I give The Loudest Yard a 7 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of The Loudest Yard. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.